This meeting is being recorded.
The thing is, okay. So, all right, so far we discussed about these filter conditions, right? All these filter functions except the key filter. Key filter I will explain later. And the next one is the selected value. Okay. So any questions regarding this one, right? So there is the all selected and all selected, right? So the all selected function, there are scenarios like if you want to compute the cumulative total, that kind of situation also we can use all selected. Okay. So this is another scenario where you will use all selected function. And next we will take a look at the selected value function. For this, what I'll do is I'll just use the previous one. What is the purpose of all selected? Any idea? Anybody has watched my earlier videos? One second, let me just move this up. I connected this the query, the Zoom meeting from my browser. If anybody joins, I will not be able to know. Okay, Abhinaya. Okay, fine. Okay, here what I will do is I will just otherwise we will create the new one. I thought of taking the previous one and explaining with that one. Anyhow, it is display measures automatically. It is not coming. So let me just do one thing. Okay. Yeah, I was talking about this one, the all selected function. We discussed all selected, all except. For example, here in this case, I will use the all selected. So this is the another scenario where you can use the all selected function. Look here, in this case, I will use the all selected function. Here, I have used the all selected function to compute the cumulative total. Okay. And what is the cumulative total here? So how do you do this? And what does this formula does here? The first one is the sales. It computes the sum of sales. And inside the filter function, what we are doing is we are taking the recent or the latest date from the date table. And then we are iterating here. Okay. We are trying to take all the data from the earliest to latest date. Okay. And then what we are doing is we are computing the total sales for those items that are visible, okay, in your visual. For example, you apply something here, right? You select you make some selections. Based on the selection which you made it will do the cumulative total here. Okay, so in that kind of situation you can use all selected function. I just select this one and I'll show you the measure here once again. Okay, so here this is the normal one. We are using the sum of sales. This measure as the formula like sum of sales, and the second argument is filter. Right, inside the filter function, what we are doing is we are using all selected. We are using this function on the date column, okay, in the date dimension table. Okay, and what we are doing is here we are we are selecting the dates, all the dates. In simple term, you take each and every row in the date values, and then you can compute the cumulative total. Let me see somebody. Yeah, 5 people. Okay, they entered waiting room. I don't know how to select the waiting room. So I was having a problem with the Zoom client. That's the reason.
Right side admit all is there.
First time I'm using it. Right, said correct. The browser, right? Connecting from browser is the good that Prabhat, you helped me. Good. So okay, sorry guys, I was using the browser, to host this meeting. I use the Zoom client. The Zoom client I tried several times. It was not something wrong from the Zoom side. I think they introduced some new features. While introducing the new features, right, certain things are not working. That's the reason why I was not able to allow you here. Okay, fine. So I was talking about the all selected function. Yesterday we discussed about all and all selected functions. All selected, all except, and all selected, as we discussed yesterday, it'll repeat the total for the visible values that are there in our visual. Okay, apart from this, is there any other scenario I can use it? We can use the all selected function to compute the cumulative total. That is what I was explaining. For example, this is the visual, I selected it. And here, cumulative total. Here I am using the dim fact and fact table. So the problem here is, one second, let me just go here. Dim date fact here, sales fact order date, max of sales fact order date. Okay, fine. In this measure, as usual, the first argument is your measure, sum of sales, and second one is your filtering criteria. Okay, the table filter expression, I've used it, and third one is the boolean thing. Okay, here I have I'm using the all selected function on this date table. Okay, so here what I'm doing is I'm taking the earliest date here. I mentioned the date column here, and then here I'm using the max. Okay, so what this one does is the max function, maximum value on the date column, give you the latest date. This is your least date. Okay, starting from the first day to till the max date, you take it, and you compute the cumulative total row by row, right? That is what this one is doing it. Okay, so net all selected function can be used in the case of computing the cumulative total. You just remember that. Okay, and then the next one is the in today's session, right, we will continue with the selected value. What is selected value? What is the advantage of selected value? So the selected value, whatever the value that you selected in your visual, that one will be captured. That one will be captured automatically. Okay. So here what I do is I just go to my, let me do one thing. It is already there in my thing. Yeah, display measures title. This is one of the use cases where you can use the selected value function. Here, the first step is create a table and key in the name of the measure. So look here, if I select this one, sorry, this is the one. This is a slicer. In this slicer, I have used a table called the measures table. Okay, or else I will just demonstrate it here. Okay, let me create it from the beginning so that you'll be able to understand. For example, I'm going to create a slicer here, slicer, and then I'm going to use the clustered column chart. And then the next one is I'm going to use a quad visual. This is for testing purpose. Okay. For this table, for this slicer, what I'm going to do, the first one is, right, the first step is we need to create a table, static table. So how do I create a static table? You click on the enter data here. And then, for example, if you go here, you can click something like that. So you can key in something like this. In this one here, you can say something like percentage of total sales, and then the percentage of net sales, and then you want to compute the net sales, something like net sales and percentage of net sales. Okay, and I'm going to click on this load. Better we'll go to the data view here. I select this data view, and if I go here, what is the table that I created it? I think this is the one. Percentage of total sales, percentage of net sales. This is the table that I created. If you want, you can use some meaningful name here. The same way what I did, right? I created the other thing, measures table. Same way, right? The table you saw, right? So in this measures table, the column 1, we have all the values, the net sales, everything. I just drop this one here. So, okay, all the values that are available in this table, especially in this column 1, we can see that here, right? So net profit, percentage sales, total sales, fine. Next thing is, the first step is create a table, and then you enter some values here. Here I have used the measure name. So this is one measure, second measure, third measure, okay? And the second steps, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use the selected value function to capture the whatever the action that you do it, right? That one will be captured by the selected value. So what we are trying to do here is we are going to understand the scenario when we can use selected value function. Okay. In the case of selected value function, the first argument is your column name. Okay, the column name. So here what I do is, here I already created a measure. For example, selected, this one, selected measure. If I click on this, look here, selected value. Here what table and which column that I used it for this slicer? I've used the table called measures table and column 1. In this slicer, I use this table and this column, right? So I'm going to pass this as an argument to my selected value function. Okay, now I created this measure already. I just dropped this into the card visual. Okay, initially it shows nothing. For example, if I select something, it gives me, hey, you selected percentage total sales. And if I select total sales, it tells me, hey, you selected total sales. So with this, what you understood? In the select measure here, right? I just dropped the select measure. The select measure, I just specify the table name and the column name. In this column 1, these are the 3 values are available. When I select any one of these values, that corresponding value is getting displayed here. Okay, what happens is here the selected value. For example, if I select net profit, that one will get selected and then it will get stored into this variable. So that variable, since I use it here, it shows net total sales. Okay, if you select total sales, that one will be captured by the selected value, and then that value has get assigned here, and then it displays here. So the selected value function is used to, we have used the selected value function to capture the action done by the user in the slicer. Understood? That is whatever the action that we do it is captured here. It's kind of a CCTV, okay? And it captured it here. And the next step is I'm going to create another thing here, but here what I do is in this visual, I just drag and drop the category column. One text and one numeric value. Here what I am going to do is I'm going to use a measure which I created already, display selected measure. I just drop this here. And what I will do is I will expand this one. Here, if you hover the cursor here, right, so display selected value, the total sales is getting displayed here in each category. Okay, each category displaying it here. Fine. Okay. The reason is I selected total sales, the corresponding measure, right, total sales across the category, it is displaying it. Each category, what is the total sales or total sales by category, it displays me. And if I select percentage total sales, and here if you see here the percentage total sales should get captured here, and here I use the net profit. I did not write any measure for this, and total sales I wrote it. So what is this? When I select any measure, dynamically this visual get refreshed. Okay, if I select total sales, it gives me the total sales across these categories. And when I select percentage total sales, it gives me it updates this visual across this category. When I select net profit, it should have, that is the whole idea of this one. Dynamically, you can display the measures in your visual so that I don't have to create multiple visual. In a single visual itself, whatever the selection that you make it, the corresponding measure will get displayed across this category. Okay, now we will take a look at what logic I wrote it in this measure. Okay, here I have used a switch function. The first argument is true. Okay, by default true, and it will come and check the first condition. When you select so look here, select measure. What is the select measure? This is the one I already created. In step 2, step 1, I created the table. In that table, I keyed in the 3 values like percentage total sales, percentage net sales, net sales and total sales. Step 2, what I did, I created a measure by the name of select measure. In this select measure, what logic I used? I used the selected value function. Inside the selected value function, I used the table and column name, which I used it in my slicer. So what happens when you see in this case, I selected this one, right? 1 second, I'll just show you. I just move this somewhere here. Now I just selected totals. It comes, this value got stored in your select measure variable in this measure, right? Select measure is a measure. And when you open this measure, you can see that this variable will capture whatever the action that you perform it. Okay, the total sales, will got captured here. So total sales equal to total sales. Yes, it is true. And sum of sales. Compute the total sales. The next one is, okay, if it is not total sales, and if I select net profit, here, it will come and check. So net profit is equal to, for example, if you select percentage totals is equal to percentage totals, yes, then you compute the net sales thing. Okay, this is another measure. Okay, and the next one is, okay, if you don't do anything, so the select measure, right? If this condition is true, do this. If this condition, do this. Otherwise, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Okay, that is what the select measure. That is what in the switch the function that I have used it. So what happened when I select the totals is it in the select measure already I use the selected value. So whatever the action that you perform, that will be captured by this measure. So which is nothing but the total sales. That is the action that I performed here, and then it will go and so here in this visual, since I've used this measure, it goes and checks, hey, is this total sales? Is this guy selected total sales? Yes. Then you display this one. But you might be asking this, and why the percentage total sales is also working, but the net profit, why it is not displayed? Because here in the net profit I did not use it, comma, and put select measure equal to net profit, right? You create another measure, and you can check select measure equal to net profit, comma, the net profit measure you need to specify it here. Okay, these are the sum of sales, net sales. These are the measures. Okay, the measures, and this is the measure which we already did. We have reused the measure. This measure, this measure already captured this value, right? The selected value function. So what are the steps involved here? So now you understood what is selected value function. It is capturing the action performed by the user as per the slicer. If the user selects total sales or whatever the value that he selects, that one will be captured by your selected value. So with this selected value, and if you go and compare it by using a switch function, and then what you do is you display the measure accordingly. Okay. So in this case, if I select percentage total sales, in my display selected measure, I just copy pasted it. In this, what happens dynamically, this value will get will get selected, and then it will display the sum of sales value. So dynamically we are able to display the measure because of the selected value function. This is the use case. Okay, in the interview, they ask you what is selected values. Selected value function helps us to capture the action performed by the user in a slicer. Okay, so what we do is, and as if we, in one of the scenarios where we need to display the measures and titles also dynamically. Okay, the another question is how do you display the visual title dynamically? Here, the visual title is not dynamic. What you do is select the visual and go to the format your visual, and then you just type the title here. Currently, display the title, display selected measure by category. Look at the last one, display selected. Next to that, your formula. If you click on this, here what it is field value. Here I'm going to select the selected measure. Then I click on. If you select anything, look at that person currently total sales is selected, and that is the one is the title now. When I select the, just total sales. Okay, when I select net profit, the title is getting generated dynamically. In the interview, they'll ask you this kind of questions. How do you change the title dynamically? So in the format pane, we have something called the title, right? So in the format pane, we can find the title. Next to the title, we have the formula. Okay, the formula icon. When you click on the formula, there you can specify the measure name. Okay, the measure name is in this case is the selected measure. What is the selected measure? The select measure is holding the what are the value that you selected. Okay, got it? Very simple. So the first step, you need to create a table and then you key in the name of the measure. And step two, what we have used this selected value function, wherein we have captured the action performed by the user as part of the slicer, and then we stored it in a variable called select measure. And then next step is we have created a measure. In this measure, we have used the switch function. The switch function, we have compared whatever the values, right? Whatever the values of this slicer got captured as per the select measure, we compare with the actual thing. Percentage total is equal to percentage sales. Yes, then put that measure, sum of sales. Okay, that is in the third step. And also we have enabled the dynamic title by specifying the measure name in the title formula property, okay, of this visual. So we understood this use case, right? Selected value. This is one of the scenario where you can use this one. Okay, the next one is the table and relationship functions. Add columns. We'll start look at the add columns. Okay. So what is the add columns? The add columns returns a function. Okay, this add column, sorry, returns a table. The add columns returns a table. So what we will do is I'll just go here. I don't know if I use this one here. Yeah, it is already the date add call. I think this is the one I used it. So yeah, here, look here in this one, this is the logic used. So we have used the variable. Variable is this min date is a variable. So how do you create a variable? This is how you can create the variable. If you want to create a variable, you need to first start with using this keyword, 3-letter keyword var, followed by you specify whatever the variable that you wanted. And on the right side, in this case, what I did, the date function used it, year, month, date. Okay, and this is the minimum date, this is the maximum date I used it. Okay, and then return. Okay, so followed by the return, I have used the add columns. So here what happens is the min date, max date will be written. That one I used it as part of the calendar function. And then I have used the calendar. See what happens, this one, the calendar function itself returns a table. In that, it returns a table with a date column. So what we are doing is that date column returned by the calendar table, we are using it as part of the year function. Okay, the calendar year, I just give some meaningful name. Okay, so this year is nothing but the calendar year. Okay, and apart from this, you have something else called calendar auto. You can also use calendar auto function. Okay, what is the difference between calendar auto and this one? The calendar auto captures the date automatically, whereas in the case of in your model, okay, but whereas in the case of calendar function, it has to compute the minimum date and then maximum date, the earliest date and the latest date. Okay, it has to compute and then it has to do it. So any of this is also fine. Okay, you can use it. And the next step is here you can use the other columns here. For example, first let us see what is date add call. So here I just go to the data view, date add call. If you select this one, so this is the logic we have used it. This is the function add columns. Okay, and here if you see that it returned the calendar function is the date table, date column. Okay, date column, and then what we did, we extracted the year from the date column using the year function. And we have already seen the other functions. For example, if you want the month name, you just type comma here. Sorry, I pressed enter mistakenly. You need to use alt and enter to get to the next line. For example, here I'm going to select alt and enter. Sorry, control and enter. Okay, here, okay, what I will do is, I don't know why it is, yeah, the alt and enter, okay, to come to the next line. And here what I do is I just select something like a month name. And here I'm going to use format function. Here we use the date column, okay, and the date column, sorry, you need to put it in the, this one, date, comma, because the capital date, that is a date function, okay. So we need to tell clearly. So this date is part of my calendar tables column. Okay. And in this date, what you do is you can use M. Okay. And then if I close this and if I press enter, look here, date, calendar year, and then month name. But in the case of calendar year, I have concatenated CY with the year, so that you can make out easily, hey, this is a calendar year. Okay, if you don't want, you can remove it, but you can usually find out, okay, this is a calendar year, especially when you use it in the visual. That time this is very helpful. For example, you're using calendar year, along with that you are using fiscal year. In that kind of situation, this is, if you concatenate this, is be helpful. Okay, which one is calendar year, which one is fiscal year, you will get to know that. Otherwise, you need to select the visual and then you need to go and select the column and then you check it. So you give some meaningful name here. Similarly, you can extract the other date related values like month number, weekday number, quarter. Okay, for example, here if I select this one and then press enter, here I'm going to say quarter. I'm going to say to represent whether it's a quarter or something, right? Quarter, and I'm going to use the trunk function, and I'm going to use the month function, and in this I'm going to use the date column. Sorry, yeah, here I put 2 commas. Month is a function. You extract the month, and then what you do is you subtract 1 and then divided by 3 plus 1. Okay, let's see what happens. Truncate the date minus 1 from the month. You subtract the 1, yeah, Q3, something like that. So the July month is the Q3. Okay, and see here the advantage of the add columns is, see, you remember in the previous session I explained you how to create a calendar table, the date table, where what I do is I used to go to the here in the table tools, new column. I used to click on the new column to create month name, and to create each and every column I used to click on the new column. But in this case, I'm using a DAX function called add columns. In the single add columns, you specify all the columns that you want it to be part of your date table, date dimension table. Year and month. Instead of clicking new column, you can specify everything in a single script, DAX query. That's it. Your thing will be ready. Okay. And the weekday we use format function, and weekday number, there is a function called weekday function. See, in the intro they ask you, right, you just play around with this one. You can tell the aggregated function, and they can tell them the week date function, and the date function is available, month function is available, year function is available, apart from the format function is available, right? You can tell them continuously like this. So now you understood what is the advantage of add columns. But in the intro, they'll ask you this question, okay? And so we can use calendar function to create the date table, and we can use a calendar auto also create the date table. What is the difference between these two? In both the cases, calendar or calendar auto function, it returns a table with a single column called date, and the list of values for the dates. Okay, in the case of calendar function, what is happening is you need to specify the boundary, minimum and maximum, where to start, where to end. Whereas in the case of calendar auto, it searches among all the dates in the data model and automatically finds the first and last year referenced within your model. So in this case, it has to compute minimum and maximum. Whereas if you use the calendar auto, it goes and searches it searches automatically to find out the first and last year reference within your model. Okay. So in that case, what you do is, instead of using calendar function, you can use calendar auto. And yeah, here you can use the filter function. You can use calendar auto, or you can use calendar function itself. Okay. But the difference is this one. Both of them returns a table, calendar and calendar auto. Both returns a table, and also it returns the table with the date value in it. Okay. But the difference is, in the case of calendar, you need to specify the boundary, the start date and end date inside the calendar. Whereas in the case of calendar auto, you don't have to specify the start date and end date. What it does is it finds out all the dates in your data model and automatically picks up the first and last year reference within your model. That is what the difference between these two. Remember this. Okay, now you understood what is add columns. Fine. Yeah. What is the next one? The next one is lookup value function. Lookup value, related value. So to demonstrate lookup value, related value, we need to have more than one table. So what I am going to do is, I'm going to use this one. Let me see if I have loaded the fact table here. Yes, sales fact is there and product fact is there. Okay. So for example, if I go to the data view here, and if I select the sales fact table, I can see all the fact table, and then product dimension is also there. In the product dimension table, I have the cost price, whereas in the sales fact table, I don't have the cost price. You assume that it is not there. Okay. Usually cost price will not be there here. Okay. This is for other batch. I gave the demo here. Since it is available, usually the cost price will not be available here. Okay. Or this is the one I've used, this one demonstrated. Okay. So now we will see what exactly the lookup value is. Okay. For that, yes, we need to have more than one table. We have sales fact table and product dimension table. So what is the syntax for the lookup value function? The result column name, the first argument, what you wanted to return it. Okay. And then the second one is the column you wanted to retrieve, And the second argument is column to search in and value to search for. Okay. Which column you use it to search in the product dimension. For example, here, right, we wanted to get the cost price from my product dimension table. So what I do is I wanted to do a lookup of this one. Actually, this one's supposed to be like this. You need to take the product key from your sales table, and then you do a lookup on your product dimension table. Okay. And for this, see, in the sales table, you have multiple records. Go to the first row, what product we sold, pick up that product key, and then do a lookup in this product dimension table, and then return the corresponding cost price for this specific product key from the product table. So here, what I will do is, for example, the simple, see, if I give you two Excel sheet, one Excel sheet, you have the sales data like this. Look here, this is what your sales fact. You have all the things are available, you don't have the cost prices available here. But the cost price is available in another table. Which one? The DIM product. Okay. If you go to the sales fact, for example, in the first record, in the sales fact, in the first transaction, P001 is the product ID. If I ask you, if you listen here, you don't have the cost price. If I ask you what is the cost price for the product ID, it is not available. What will you do? You will obviously go and check it from the product dimension table for this corresponding product ID. Pick up this product ID from the sales table, column to search in, and then value to search for. Okay, this is the column, right, that you need to search it in where? In the product dimension table. Hey, in this, for this column, for this value, what is the thing? So P001 is the cost price is 47. Okay, return that value here. The first argument is, return the value or the result value. What the, return the result after you do the lookup. So here I just go to the sales fact table. Look here, I already created a calculated column here. Here I've used a lookup value function. In this one, what I want to return, cost price, I need to return it from my product dimension table. For this, yeah, you can use this order also. What you do is you do the product ID, check the product ID of the sales table into this table. Okay, it is in the reverse order, correct. It is correctly mentioned. Value to search for and which column. This order is correct only, okay, sorry. So product ID from your sales fact table, you take this one and then do a lookup in this table and then return the cost price. We have seen the coffee. This is P00, nothing but the coffee product. For this, the cost price was 47. What is the list price? 50. Okay. So let's not worry about list price. Okay. So understand this one. So in the case of lookup value, you need to pass 3 arguments. The first argument is supposed to be the return value, and the second argument, third argument, like which value you want to look up from which table. So you need to search this value into this table. Okay, and then return the cost price. See, manually, if you take the printout, if I ask you what is the cost price, what you will do is you will take that other paper. In that paper, you return the product ID along with the cost price for each product. So, okay, P01, you go and check it in the sheet. Oh, P01 is coffee. For that, this is the cost price. Manually, when I ask you to do that, that is how you do it, right? The same thing is done by lookup value. Okay. And but the point which you need to note down when it comes to lookup values, it doesn't require any relationship between the tables. If, for example, DIM product and sales fact, if you see here, DIM product and the sales fact table, I have created the relationship. Even if I remove this one, it will work. Okay, it doesn't require any relationship between the tables. Anyhow, I'll just demonstrate you to check the statement made by my was correct. Okay, and then I go to the data view. Look here, still it shows the correct value. It does the filtering correctly when it comes to lookup value. Okay, So we need this one, the relationship for some other purpose. So the product ID and product ID, I'm going to map it here. So lookup value is helpful here. Okay, so in this case, we have used this lookup value function for a calculated column. Okay, and then the next one is the related function. What is the related value for related function? And we have another function called related table. These two look similar. As the name suggests here, it returns the table. Okay, here I have used the related function. So the argument is supposed to be the related column name. Instead of using lookup value function, you can use related function. Supposing you wanted to retrieve the cost price for each product from your fact table, you can do a lookup in your product dimension table using related function. The related function, it draws the value from one side to the many side. Usually if you look at the document, right, the related function, we use it with the many side table. You just remember this is the many side, right? This is the many side. Which one? The sales fact. If you see the star here, right, this is the many side. The related function, we use it from the many side of the table. The related table is opposite, the one side of the table. That is the difference between related and related table function. Okay, now we will take a look at the related. I have given the meaningful name here for the related. No, I did not use it here. So for this, what we will do is we will create another calculated column to understand it, wherein they will use the related function. Okay, I just created
Sir, cost of price is related here.
Oh, it is there already. Very good, right? Good that you have a good observation skills. Okay, related function. So what I do is return the cost price. The syntax is very simple. Here I did not specify product ID, right? Take the product ID from this table and then do a lookup in the product table for the corresponding product ID column and return the cost price, right? That I did not specify it here. It automatically, since how it is happening automatically, because we have created the relationship between the product dimension table and fact sales dimension table. The relationship was the common column which we used was product ID. Hence, it understands inherently, hey, the relationship between the sales fact and product dimension is product ID. Hence, what you do is go and check the corresponding product ID for this product ID and then return the cost price. That's it. Very simple, isn't it? Instead of lookup value, you can use the, but if I remove the relationship between these two, it will not work. The related function requires the relationship between the tables, otherwise it will not work. And if I go and select this one, I just compared those two things, right? This column does not, either doesn't exist or doesn't have relationship. Look here, have a relationship to any table. It gives me an error, whereas the lookup function works perfectly because the lookup value function doesn't require the relationship between the tables, whereas the related function requires the relationship between the tables. And if I go and create the relationship, it will work. Product ID and product ID. If I drop the product ID, on top of this one from here, it works. It got created, the relationship, and if I go here, look here, that error went off because the relationship exists between these two tables. The relationship we created based on the common column product ID. Very simple, right? To convince the employer to explain this logic. Fine. The next one is the DAX related function requires that a relationship exists between the current table and the table with related information. Okay. So the related function takes a single value, that is, it returns a single value, okay, related to the current row. This is similar to the lookup value function in Excel. The related value, the related function works with the many side of the table, okay. And the next one, the related table. So as the name says, it returns a table, okay. Returns a table of values. The function changes the context in which the data is filtered and evaluates the expression in the new context that you specify. This function, like a related function, even this one requires a relationship between the tables. But this table draws the value from many side to the one side. Okay, or you can say this function, you can use it with the one side of the table. In simple term, you can say that. For example, here in the case of product dimension, what I did, I have used something called total units. I create a column. When I click on this, you can see the logic that I use it. A related table, sales fact table, count rows. See, the related table returns the number of rows in this fact table. The count rows function, what it does is it counts the number of records returned in this fact table for each and every product. You got it? See, the related table function, it changes the context in which the data is filtered. In this case, the data is got filtered, right? The related table function, it changed the context. In this case, the filter context, right? It is filtered this one. For this product, how many number of records are there? For this product, or you can use, yeah, the how many number of records are, how many transactions we made for each product, or how many number of orders that we received for each product. If you wanted to answer to that kind of situation, then you can use the related table. Both related and related table, it requires the relationship between the tables, otherwise it will not work. So the use cases, they have to calculate the sales with the products table by using a lookup on the price table and multiplying it by the product number of units sold. Okay, sometimes if you wanted to compute the cost of goods sold, assume that you don't have a cost price here. So you can take the list price and multiply it with the quantity, that is your sales. And cost of goods sold, instead of list price, you need to use the cost price and multiply this one. But this cost price, you need to use a related function. So you create another column. So where you specify the related cost price into the quantity here. Okay. So in that case, you can, what you are going to do, that is, let's cost of goods, something like that. Okay. Cost price 40 into 2, 80, whereas 50 into 2 is 100. So 100 minus the cost of goods sold was 80. The 20 was your profit, something like that. Okay. And update, consolidate the sales value, the related table. Look here, right? So that is what we did it in the product dimension table. We just consolidated the number of count rows we have used it. Instead of using count rows, you can use the sum function also, sum of sales or something like that. Okay, so you can use that one also. Update the stock value. So basically, in the dimension table, along with the product name, cost price, they maintain the stock value, how many units are a hand for each product, right? So in that kind of situation, you can use related table. What you do is you can try this one, right? To create a stock value column in a product dimension table, and then use a related table, and then you can consolidate the units, be sold in each product. Okay. But this function is not supported for use in directory mode when used in calculated columns or row level security rules. Okay. In the case of direct query mode, right, you cannot use this function, right? These two functions. And the next one is the cross filter. Cross filter we already discussed. How do I enable the bidirectional relationship programmatically? That kind of situation, the cross filter. This cross filter function, it will not return any value. You need to remember this. But the cross filter requires the relationship between the tables, otherwise it will not work. If they ask you which DAX function does not return value, can you tell me? The cross filter? Okay, the simple thing. It will not return value. But can I use a cross filter function directly? No, you'll have to use it inside the calculate function. So here the first argument is column 1 and column 2 and both. For example, I just want to enable the bidirectional relationship between these two tables. Currently one direction, right? Unidirection is it. If you want to enable the bidirection, you need to specify the column name is dim product table product ID, and then sales fact table product ID column, and then direction is both. The default is single, and you want to enable bidirectional relationship, both you can give it. Okay, fine. So that is how this already we explained it, right? You don't need any explanation. Fine. The next one is the use relationship. Use relationship, when we can use it? When did we use it? Can someone tell me? Use relationship.
Inactive relationship active, sir.
So what is that? When did we use that? Can someone who said that? Yeah, Abhinaya, right? Yeah, to enable your inactive relationship active temporarily. In that kind of situation, we have used the use relationship function. Like cross filter function, even the use relationship, it does not return any value. Okay, you need to remember this one. That's all. Okay, this is what we discussed in the past sessions. Okay, and the next one is the top and the aggregation functions. But here I'm not able to save it locally, hence I need to cut it each and everything. Okay, let me do one thing. Someone sent a message here. What is that message? Yeah, already Arvind, right? Active and inactive by between tables. Okay, cool. The next one is the, let me just see the next one. What are the other things? This is the one we have seen it yesterday. On the top and yeah, this is the one. So how do we find out the top 10 sales or top 10 customers, top 10 products or top 5 products, so there is something called top n function is available, and we have something else called rank x function is available. Okay, what is this rank x function does? What is the rank function does? The interview they ask you, what will be your answer? If you wanted to assign the rank, okay, for the top selling, or if you want to assign the rank to the customer based on the sales or based on the units sold, okay, you can go for a rank x function. Okay, I just go here. Yeah, in this one I already created the rank x thing here. Look here, in this case I put everything step by step. It is also available in my website. Okay, you can download this one. Look here, in this visual, what are the columns that I used it? I selected this visual. Next step is, right, if you look at this here, the customer name, category, sales, and in addition to these 3 columns, I have used a measure called customer rank. So here I have just put the customer name, and then the second one is the category. Okay, and then sales, here it gives me the rank. So okay, let us start with the simple one. I just start with the country here. Okay, the rank x function, it returns the rank of a specific number in each row. What is a specific number? Sales, in this case sales. It returns the rank of a specific sale in each row. Okay, here in this visual I use the country column and then sales. Okay, and then the next one was the customer rank. Okay, it should not be customer rank. Okay, let me do one thing. I have used some other customer rank function. Yeah, see, actually the country rank, okay, this one's supposed to be a country rank. Okay, country, the naming convention problem here. Rank the country by sales, simple. But here, I have used the all function here. The first argument, I have used the all function. And the second argument, I've used the measure, sum of sales. Okay, here. And then I left one blank space here, and then I'm using the descending thing. So for example, if you type if you want to know the thing, right, I just remove it here. The first one is the table. The rank x function also returns a table, okay. And then the second one is an expression. In this case, the sum of sales, the measure, and then the next one is the value, and the third one is the order. Okay. Here, I don't have to use any value. I did not use it anything, hence I left it blank. And then the last one is the order. Okay. The ties is different. Okay, and that we'll see it later. Okay. So this is the measure that I used it. Okay. And then I just dragged and dropped this measure into this visual along with the country and sales. So now what it does is it ranks each country by the sales, total sales. That's all. But here it shows in the different order. And here what you can do is you can just you can find the something like this one. If you select this one, it will start this in ascending or descending order. For example, if you select one more time, now it displays the rank in ascending order, with respect to the sales by country. Okay, with this we can understand United States was ranked as 1, and the second top sales where we made was Australia, hence it assigned the second rank for this one. Second, third, 4, 5, 6 here. So here the question is, why should I use all function? If I don't use all function, what it does is it literally goes by each and every row. It assigns a rank for each and every row, 1, 1, 1, something like that. We don't want that to happen. Hence, what we are doing is we remove all the filter on the country column. And then what you do is you assign the rank. Okay. So here it removes the filter, and then right. So here in United States, that is the rank, right? It assigns the rank as 1 based on the sales. So as you can see, it is pretty straightforward, right? So the sales, and if you want to see the bottom sales based on the rank, look here, 144, Macedonia. Look here, the sales value is very less. Switzerland. So these two, yeah, these are the lowest values. Here in this visual, what I did, okay, instead of using only one text column, I have used more than one text column. In this one, what we are doing is, in each category, right? Customer by category, you do the rank by sales. Okay. So this customer have purchased in technology. You might have purchased the product in some other category also. But with the combination of these two, right, it assigns this one, rank 1. Sean Miller in technology ranked as 1 based on the sales. If you want to include quantity, you can include the quantity column also. But in that case, you need to use the quantity column in your customer rank measure. So instead of sum of sales, sum of quantity. Okay, you can use that way. Okay. For that, you need to create another measure. So this is for sum of sales. You copy paste this, and then you rank. Here we have ranked the customer, right, based on the sales by category. Okay. But if you see here, right, these two guys got assigned with the same rank here, 1, 1, and then if you see 2, 2. So these two values are somewhat closer. It assigns 1. These two are somewhat closer. It is, but this, though it is not somewhat closer, right? Uh, it assigns 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, all these things 2, 2, and then 3, 3, and 4 all the things. Country, state, yeah. And if you wanted to see the state in which country the sales performance is more, look here. If you compare these two visuals, you can understand very clearly, right? The ranking was done, right? So but when you look at the ranking done based on the sales column by country, you can see that United States tops the rank. But when it comes to state by country, right, compared to all the country state, in United Kingdom, the England state, it tops the sales. You understood? This is very important. So that's the reason I put these two things. Okay, so you can see that the country wise United States tops the one, but state wise United Kingdom's tops the one. But this value is obviously lesser, this one 4,40,000 and 20, but here 20 lakhs 79. Okay, California 4,09,000. So next to England, the California is the top generating revenue from United States, but United Kingdom tops when it comes to state in terms of sales. Okay, so now you understood the rank function returns the rank of any specific column for each row and rank our total sales for all rows in our table. The second step. The third step is the new column rank the total sales from the largest number to the smallest number, where the largest number has a value of 1. I have given the explanation here, this one. Okay, here.
Sir, why ranks are repeating over there?
Where?
In that past table, customer name table.
This one, right? Yeah, it considers, see, it assigns a rank on its own. It considers, these two guys are same. Okay, when it comes to the customer and the category thing, right? So both of them are somewhat similar. Okay, it assigns that way. Okay. So you might be asking this question here. 21,000 is also see 23 and 27 is a little far, but why it is considering this as a 1-1, right? It is
Yes.
done. It is done based on the combination of these two: customer name and category. Okay, customer name and category. Okay, in this category, this guy is tops, and the same category, this guy tops with respect to the sales. And in this category, right, this guy, right, these guys are, it assigns some logic here. Okay, and even I'm not so clear, okay, why it is assigning that way. But we have something else called ties. You remember? Look here, when I select this one, yeah, you need to remember this one. For example, in this case, I've used the customer rank 1. Customer rank 1. This measure. In this case, I have used the cross join because we want to do the ranking based on the combination of these two columns, state and country. State and country, what is the total sales? You need to use cross join. So inside the cross join, you need to specify the two columns. You cannot use a single column separately, right? State, comma, country, you cannot use it because the first argument is supposed to be a table, single table. Okay. So, but inside this cross join function, you can use, the more than one column here. Okay. Fine. So the next one is the top n function. Top n function. What is top n function? Here I did not put here. So anyhow, we will see the top. See the top n function. This is the syntax for it. The first argument is supposed to be the n value. What is n value? It could be top 10, top 2, top 3, top 5. Whatever the value that you want it, right? You can specify it here. You want to see the top 10 or top 5, you can specify it here. And the second one is table, and then order by expression. and order by expression. If you compare this one, if you see this one, the top one, instead the first one I mentioned 2, and then here I have used the values function. Here, so any of values we'll see it later. Okay, yeah, look at this one. Okay, the top end 2, and then second one is the table name is sales W04, and third one is the expression, that is my sum of sales, and then the expression, this one order by descending. Okay, in this case I just select this visual. Here I have used these two things, and the top 10 revenue, top 10 profit. Okay, these are the two measures that I used it. Top 10 revenue, if you see here, look at top 3 sales. You give me the top 3 sales, okay, for each category. So give me the top 3 sales for each category, and then sum it. Okay, you remember, you understand here, right? What is happening here is, in the office supplies, it goes and checks the top 3 sales. Okay, see, look here, that is the reason why I put the sales column here. Okay, it is total sales we made in office supplies. Out of the total sales we made in office supplies, what are the top? Give me the top 3 only. I don't want to see all the records that belong to office supplies. This is which table? This is my, yeah, I just go here, sales W04. If you select this one, and the category, where is the category? Category is available here, right? So if you see here, and let's take only the office supplies. In this office supplies, what happens? It goes to this one. If you take the totals, is what will happen. If you add all this value, 29 lakh on dot. But what we need is, you want to see the top 3 sales in descending order, right? These 3 sales. So 98 and something like that. Okay. And the office supplies, top 3 sales, you give me the total. Okay, something like that. And then it sums the values for this one. Okay, that is how it works. I clear the filter, and then I just go back here. And then if you see here the total sales, this is for the entire total. Yes, 3 records were the right, top 3, 9, 9. What is that? 1 second, I'll just show you here one more time. The office supplies, and here how much? 9, 9, 18. 18 plus 8, how much? 26. And the rest of them, if you added 27, right? That is what it shows here, 27. Top 3 sales value you pick up from the office supplies. For this I have used the descending order, and then you sum it. Out of the total sales, what is the top 3 sales? Out of the total sales in furniture, what is the top 3 sales? Out of the total sales in technology, what is the top 3 sales? You understood? Similarly, the profit. See here, the top 10 is not correct. Okay, it should be the name of this one, supposed to be top 3 revenue, top 3 profit. Okay, the same thing, right? It is giving that. Are you able to understand, guys? The top 10, you understood? What is the difference between rank and top 10? It's a top function. With this, can you tell me, can someone tell me what is the difference between these two? Let me see how many of you understood. See here, if I put category here, and yeah, if I give category and sales here, it will give me the 1, 2, 3, something like that, right? Rank. Okay, with respect to sales. But what is the difference between top and rank? Okay, tell me, Pravat. You were saying something.
Rank means it will carry out the whole table and it will rank according to ascending or descending order.
There also we sorted it, right? Manually I sorted it.
In top
Right.
n means we have to carry out, suppose there will be top 10, top 5 or top 15.
Yeah, so if you go by this example, top 3 values it picks up from each and every category and then it
Yes.
does the sum, right? Whereas in the case of rank X function, what it does is it does the rank based on a specific column. Okay, so for in the case of country, right, which country ranked number 1 with respect to sales? If you want to see that, you can see that one. So in that case, that is the difference. Okay. And yeah, and apart from this, see here, the top n function, I have used it as part of a measure. Look here. I made one statement. The top n function returns a table. That if you see here, top 10 revenue, right? So this is the top 10 revenue. Actually, it is here I mentioned 3, but I mentioned, okay, I'll just correct it now itself. It's least, okay, and but it will create a new measure, it seems, or I think it will get. I think should have used the I should have done the right click and then I should have renamed it. Anyhow, I think this one also will work. No, it will create another thing. Yeah. So what? Yeah, top 3, correct. It modified this one, correct. Okay, top 3 revenue. So in this case, the top n function here, it returns a table. Top n function returns a table, right? So in this table, it will have only the top 3 sales in the descending order. That top 3 sales, it does this sum here. Here, I have used this one as a measure. So when you see the calculator icon next to the measure, right? Any variable or next to any variable, if you see it along with the calculator, which means that's a measure. And if you see something like this, right? This is your calculated column. Yeah, look here, the top end. So calculated column. Okay, the top end function actually returns the table. So what I did in the measure, I use the top end function, as an argument for my calculate function. Whatever the value returned by this table, on top of that we are performing this one. The point what I'm trying to say is, though top end function returns a table, you can use that as part of your measure inside your calculator. And also you can use a top end function. For example, here I have created a top end first example. Here, if I use the top end function directly without using the calculate, then it will create a table. Look here, top end first example. In this case, give me the top 2 sales from this table. So now you tell me what is, okay, in this case, it will return the table. Look here, top end. And if you go to the data view, and then if you see here the top end, this is the one. Look here, it returned a table. But in this table, it returned the top 2 sales in descending order. You see the sales here. This is the highest sales. Okay. 22,000 and actually it should be, the descending order. It's not descending. We can sort it in descending order. Now you tell me what is the difference between this and this one and this one. I will tell you the first difference. This one returned a table. It returns a table. Okay. But whereas here, and it returns a table. On top of that, it is doing the sum of the sales. When I use this measure in a visual along with any text column, if it is a category, what it does is category wise top 3 sales, it performs the aggregation and it gives me here. Or if you use this segment column here, segment wise top 3 sales will be aggregated here. But when I use it as a standalone function individually instead of using it inside the calculator. If I use it individually, it gives me the for the entire table what is the which transaction we made top sales. You understood? See, take a simple example. You have 100 records in a table. In that 100, let's say 100 orders. Okay. Out of 100 orders, you tell me which orders we made the top 2 sales. For the entire table, top 2 sales we can say. But if you want to see the category wise top 2 sales, in that kind of situation, this is helpful. You can use top n function inside in a measure. You can create a top n function in a table. So this one you are supposed to create in the table. You remember, you need to click on the table here, new table for this one. Okay, for this one you can use a measure. That's it. The next one is the dynamic top n. So the interview, they'll ask you, how did you do the dynamic top n, dynamic top rank X, right? How did you do this? Top n, how do you do that? The same example, look here. I've used the selected value function. The selected value function is very much handy when it comes to dynamic, right? The dynamic, if you want to find out the dynamic top n, if you want to display the measures dynamically, that kind of situation. So you create a slicer here. In this, for this, I've created another table. Look here, I've created, the table, static table called top n. Look here, this is a static table. In this, I have only one column, 5, 10, 15, 20. So in this case, what happens is we are giving the flexibility to the report user to choose whatever you wanted. Instead of hard coding the value top 2, top 3, if you hard code it, what will happen? So let's say you hard coded top 10. So whenever you see the visual, right, you can see the top 10 only. You want to see the top 10 products. So here I've created a dynamic table top n. So sorry, the table, right? Static table called top n. In that I keyed in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And this table column, I just dragged and dropped into a slicer. So that whatever the selection that you made it, accordingly, this value will get changed in your visual. For example, if I select this one, dynamic top 10 revenue. Okay, dynamic top 10 revenue. So here what will happen is, instead of specifying the number as 10, 20, 30, I've used another measure called selected value. Okay, the first step, I create this static table. Second step is you need to create this one. Okay, ideally this one is supposed to be a second step. Here, whatever the value that the user selected, you capture it and store it in a variable. This variable you pass it as an argument to your top n function. Look here, this is the variable that I pass in, so that the selected value, what it does is it will capture whatever the value that you selected. For example, in this case 20, the 20 will get assigned here. So give me the top 20 sales value, and then of those top 20 sales, you apply the sum of sales. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Only 3 steps. First step is create the static table wherein you specify different n values, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Step 1. Step 2, what you do is you drag and drop that static table column into a slicer, and in step 3 you create a measure wherein you use the selected value function to capture whatever the action performed by the user as part of your slicer. And in step 4, you create a measure. In that measure, what it is, whatever the action or whatever the action carried by the user, which you capture it in another measure, that measure name, you need to pass it as an argument here. That's it, guys. This is what your dynamic top n. The interview, they are very particular about dynamic. Got it? Okay. So the next one is, yes, we discussed about top n and rank, and next one is summarize columns and group by. So next one is the summarize. I just refresh this. So the expression refers to multiple columns. Multiple columns cannot be scalar value. Okay. Here, okay. So this is the problem. Well, let me do one thing here. This one, the summarize function. In the case of summarize function, the summarize function also returns a table. Okay, it returns a table. Okay, it returns a table. What I will do is I will open the DAX measure. Okay, so DAX Studio. You have something called DAX Studio. Look here. So this is an open source. You can download it and install it. It's a freeware. Okay, just click on it here. So here you need to select here. Here I have opened multiple report files. Hence, you need to select this option and you select which report file you want to connect it. I want to connect it to the top and rank summarize so that it will get connected here. Click on connect. It got connected. So all these measures, whatever I use, the tables, everything, it shows a dim date, and then the sales W04. Here, I think I did not use the sales fact table. Yeah, it is there, but okay, I'm not sure why it is not displaying the sales fact table. No. Or date, I have used the date the wrong table. Okay, 1 second. Let me just select this one, the rank top end. Okay, this is the one I should have selected. And you can see all the tables, right? Sales fact, everything, you can see it here. And here, what is the measure that we used it here? The measure name is date art call. This is the one gives me the right click on it and then preview data. So top end 500, right? So this is the table name, actually date dimension table. Here we have used the add columns function. When you right click on it and preview data, is like your SSMS, right? What are the top 500 records? It displays that here. Okay. So this is the one, and you can expand this one and you can see what the columns are there in this table. And this is my date dimension, everything we can see it here. And then the measures table and measures to table, and I have used the calculate table. 1 second, date dimension. Okay, and then the calendar. And then here define and expand measure, define dependent measure, and define measure. Okay, and here you can see, okay, let me just clear off all these things. So it gives me the objects that reference this one, and what I do is the define measure. See here the calculate sum of sales and dates in period. Okay, this is the logic formula that I have used it in this measure. You can see it here. Okay, but it is slightly different. It will start with define and then it will specify the measure name as measure. But whereas if you open this and see it in your Power BI desktop, you will see this one only. But just prior to this, it put measure, and to start with this, right, define it uses. Okay, you can see the formulas here. Okay, but here you need to go each and everything, you select it and you see it, but here it is pretty easier. And also you don't have to get confused whether do I have to click on the table to use the top end function. For example, top end, you need to use it in the new table. Okay, and whereas if you want to create any measure, you need to go here. So you might get confused. To use a top end function, do I need to use a measure or do I need to create a new table? Right, you will get confused. You need to go to different places. If you want to use this top end function upfront, then you need to use new table. But for a beginner, it is difficult, right? So top n is, do I need to use the top and the new table or the measure? You will get confused. But whereas when it comes to DAX Studio, you don't have to have that confusion. You can simply specify whatever you want. The measure name you can specify. It will work here, okay? So what I will do is I will just take that values here, the summarize, right? The summarize function, whatever I use it, I'm going to use this one here. Look here, I just simply copy paste it here. Summarize, here what I do is I just start with evaluate. So you need to use this function. If you want to execute the measure, whatever use it in your Power BI desktop in your DAX Studio, you need to start with evaluate and then you can use summarize. And then you wrap this with this one, right? So you need to simply wrap this with this one. And then you need to select all the things and click on run. Let's see, yeah, it gives me the total here, right? It gives me FUT. And then here, this is the one gives you the output, whether this one, any syntax error, it will show you. Okay, the query establishing connection, query selected, started, query one completed, 500 rows, return all the things, and results, you can see all the summary. In East region, how much total sales we made. In Oceania, how much total. The summarize function, the first argument is your table name. Okay, and the second argument is your the column name, which column you wanted to do summarization. Okay, it's kind of a group by, right? Which column you want to group by. This is somewhat similar to your the group by function in your select query. For example, so this is the comment, okay, and in DAX query, in between this multi-line comment, you can say for here, this is equivalent to select sum of sales as in SQL query we use alias, right? Total sales. From sales underscore W04 and press enter. And here what you do is group by region. This is equivalent to this SQL query. Okay. In this case, the summarize function, you need to specify the table name first. This one, okay. This one you need to specify it. Look here, sales W04. Look here, I just bring this down. And this one you need to specify it as a first argument, summarize function. And then the second argument is group by, which column you want to group by. And third argument is this one, whatever we have mentioned, sum of the aggregation, right? And then the alias name also, that is the one we specified here. So this one, you start with this one, and this one you specified here. But here the question is why it is throwing an error here. Okay, so here let me do one thing. Where is the summarize? Okay, I just type it one more time here, summarize EX1. Let me just clear this one here. I just go here, sorry. Summarize EX1. Okay, here next to the summarize, you can see the measure, the calculator. Calculator is nothing but measure. The summarize does not work with measure. Why? Expression referred to multiple columns. Multiple columns cannot be converted as column. Multiple columns it refers. The region column and sales column, multiple columns it refers here. So it is, hence, basically the summarize function, it returns a table. Look here, the same thing. I have created a table. So the table, this is the thing that you can icon. This is nothing but the table. Summarize EX1, if you see here, the same thing, it is working here. And if you go to the data view here, summarize EX1, look here, whatever you see it here, the same thing you can see it here. The reason why I started using DAX Studio is for a beginner, you will get confused. Though I explain you the summarize function will return table, right? You might get confused when you start using it. So you might create a measure and then you will end up with an error and you will panic. Okay, something wrong, I don't know. Right, and but here you don't have to have this headache. You don't have to go to the look here. In this case, you don't have to break your head. Do I need to click on this or do I need to click on this? Here, you know, whether it's a table or a measure, you can specify it here itself. You don't have to go back here and there. Right, so this one actually returns the table fine, but mistakenly I have used this formula into a measure, right? I'm not supposed to use a measure for the summarize function. Now you understood the summarize function. I compared this one with the with the select query. And then next one is we have something else called the roll up function. Okay, what I do is I'll just use this one. See here what happens, this summarize function, if you scroll down here, nothing is there, right? You can see each and every region what is the total sales. If you want to see that subtotal and all, right, then you have something called the the roll up function is available. Okay. Here the first argument remains as it is. Here what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called the roll up function. Roll up function. Here what I do is, yeah, the sales W04 region. If I want to use more than one column in my group by sales W04, and here I just use segment column. Okay, and then the next one is I'm going to close the roll up. This open parenthesis corresponding to that I use this one, and then what I do is here use something like a, instead of using the same thing, right, I'm going to use something like row count. Comma, I'm going to use count function. This is also an aggregated function. Sorry, count. Use something called order ID. Okay, and then the comma, this one. Okay, total sales. Can we use total sales or okay? I'm going to say, yeah, here what I do is segment subtotal. And you have another function called is subtotal is available. And sales W04, I'm going to use segment. I'll explain, don't worry. Okay, so here, this is what I have used it here, and I'm going to select this one. And okay, here I need to use one more parenthesis. This is for evaluate. So you need to wrap the summarize function with evaluate when it comes to DAX Studio. So let's see what happens, whether it works. It works perfectly. Okay. And in this case, what is happening is in each region, you know, in each segment, how many number of records are there? Okay, how many number of orders that we received it. If there is a business question like this, you can use a summarize function. In east region, in the consumer segment, we received 595 orders. Okay, and each subtotal, it gives you say the false, everything here. And let us see, you know, where it gives it true. So wherever it starts with true for the segment subtotal, it gives you the subtotal for each and every region here. The subtotal for each and every region displayed. So 1174 East. If you add all these value, how much you get? 800, 900, 1000, 1107. Sorry, 1174, right? You get this one. It gives you the total sales for the East region, right? So for this one, the entire thing, okay? It gives me the subtotal. But whereas the previous one, it doesn't give you any subtotal. Region-wise subtotal, it is not giving it. If you want to use the subtotal, then you can go for roll-up. But in the case of a roll-up, we specified that if you have more than one column to be grouped, you need to use roll-up. And also the roll-up function, right, it gives you the subtotal. Okay, the same thing, what I will do is, okay, here, if I use only this one, it gives me an error. Segment in table. Okay, here I use this segment. Okay, here what I do is instead of this one, I'll use region. Okay, instead of starting with the complex, little complex thing, we'll start with the simple one. And if you scroll down here, since I've used the region, right, it adds all the regions total number of orders here. It gives you the grand total. So look at the last one, true. So of all these regions put together, what is the total number of orders that we received? Okay, it gives you the subtotal here. Okay, so in that case, the roll-up function is very much helpful. And also in the roll-up function, we can use more than one column which you want to group it. The combination of the column that you want to use it in your group by, you can specify it here. But when you use roll-up, right, what happens is it gives you the this one, the subtotal. Look at the two starts here. Okay, because here we have specified the segment here, right? For all these segment, you give me the total sales for the region. That is what it gives us. Summarize function. Okay, and then next one is we have something else called summarize columns and group by. So what we will do is I think I missed out something else. Okay, with this I'm going to stop. As the name says, summarize columns, you can use summarize columns for a column. That one, it returns only the scalar value, it will not return the this one. Which one? It will not return the table. It will not, summarize columns will not return the table. Anyhow, I will show you that one also now itself so that we can finish it off that one also, okay? So in the case of summarize columns, I just reuse this code so that we can save a lot of time in typing here. Okay, ideally I should have taken this one, the first one. Yeah, here instead of summarize, I'm going to use the summarize columns. Yes, here I'm going to specify the column name because it takes only the column name as an argument because it is not a summarize function. As the name suggests, columns, right? It takes the column as an argument, not the table. Okay. Okay, and the region, and then total sales by region. I just put it here. Here I just say sum of sales, right? Let me just see what is happening here. Query batch completed. The end of the with okay here this one and okay here you have multiple things are there here. Okay, yeah, I just remove this. Okay, good. The summarize columns. In this case, it gives me the total sales by each region. The only difference is, what is the difference between this one and this? Both of them return the same value. Okay. But here you don't have to specify the table name. Okay, you just specify the column name and then the alias name for the total column or the aggregation column, right? The column which you are aggregating, for that you are giving some meaningful name, the alias. Okay, but here you need to specify. But in the case of summarize, it will return the table, whereas it is not going to return the table. It will just return the values for this one. That's all. That is the difference between these two. We will go and check it here, the data view. The summarize. Let me just type summarize. No, I'm not using the right thing. When you open multiple things, right, this is the one, right? I just go here. So 627651, 627, same value. Here I've used the summarize function. Here I use the summarize columns, right? If I use the summarize column, you can select all this, press F5. Okay, you don't have to click on it here. F5 is the shortcut key. The same thing. But here, if you see here, see, so far we have seen the output. In case of any error, you can find it here. The results of your query you can see it here, the DAX query. And if you want to see the query history, you can go and see it here. Okay, and you can see it. Apart from this, you have something else called the server timings. You can enable it, and then you can click on the query plan. When you select the query plan, what happens here? It gives you the query plan. Look here. The moment when I clicked on server timings, there is a tab, called server timings got added here. And since I select query plan, another tab called query plan got added here. And here you can go and check it, the server timings. This is your formula engine, and then the server engine, sorry, the storage engine, formula engine, storage engine, total millisecond. The formula engine, how much time it takes to execute. What is formula engine? What is storage engine? Formula engine is the one responsible for accepting your DAX queries and then processing your, parsing your DAX query simply. Okay, it accepts the query and then it verifies your query and then it creates an execution plan. Right, that execution plan will be sent to your storage engine. Okay, the storage engine, since it's an imported table, the X velocity engine will get started behind the scene. Okay, and right, so it does the it converts the table into column, everything, and the storage engine also look here. When I execute the bigger one here, right? So here we have used multiple things. I'm going to press F5, or I'm going to execute this one. And then I'll execute it one more time, or when you clear cache, then run, and then next you do is, it is not taking much time because the number of records are very less. Okay, clear cache. And if you see the result, yes, results are there. The server timings, it is not showing anything, and then the query plan. And here, what you need to do is load performance data, something like that. Okay, you just you see whatever the performance that you can load it to a file called, you can load it to a file. Okay, JSON file. Okay, so that you can refer it later point in time. After you do some kind of tuning, you can go and refer it back. And here the server timing is going on. Okay, and the query plan, it is the trace is not currently active. Okay, we need to enable the trace here. For that, you need to use see, that's why you need to, though we worked with this many times. So the trace is not currently active. Click on the query plan button. Query plan button. Yes, query plan button. And then what you do is you just select this one again. And then what you do is you can execute it. And if you go to the query plan, look here, it is generating the query plan. First, you need to click on the query plan and then go to the query plan tab. And then what you do is select your query and execute it. It gives you the logical and physical query plan. And then try rewriting this logic. Okay, instead of using summarize function, you try any other function and see what is the physical query plan, logical query plan. And with that rewritten query, if you can see any improvement in the physical query plan, logical plan, you can go by that. Waiting for query end event. This is stop, this is pass, okay, and this is the one start, okay, it is started, is going on. If you wanted to clear all, you can clear it, and then if you want to stop it, you can stop it, and then if you want to start it, you can start it, and then what you do is you just go and execute it here. Look here, it got generated now. The summarize roll up, right? So it tells you in each iteration how much records are fetched. Logical plan, the physical plan and logical plan, it shows us here. Look here, it uses VertiPack and all, right? It uses VertiPack. But here you can see that here in the case of logical plan, you can see that it scans the region column. In the case of it does the group by, and then it scans the table, okay, the region table, okay. But interpreting this one is not that easy, very, very difficult to interpret this one, okay. The simple thing is, right, what you do is you just go to the server timings, and then you check the timings here. What is the storage engine time, formula engine time, and what is total milliseconds, how many milliseconds it takes to execute this one, what is the storage in CPU, okay. And then you rewrite another query and then see what is the storage and formula engine. So instead of doing this one here, what you do is you can do the aggregation in the SQL server itself, and then you use that in your visual. See, with the next session, what we will do is we will explore the performance tuning part. SQL query, how we can do the performance tuning, and in the DAX query, how we can do it, and how we can use the performance analyzer. We have something called performance analyzer that is how in Power BI Desktop. With that, we will do that, okay. So look here, it generated the select query here, right? It selected. If you click on it, you can see that select segment, select segment and region column. You get these two things, and then count, do the count, okay, because I'm using a count function. From the aggregator function is count here, okay. And then what it does is go, where order ID is not null, okay. And if you select this one, right, in the first pass, it executes. The second pass, it does something like the from table, and is not null, and it comes here, it comes here, okay. It uses the left outer join on the date table, okay, and then date, and then it uses left outer the local date table. See this date table, right? This is the automatic table created by the Power BI Desktop. It is doing the left outer join with the date table, okay, based on this common date and order date, okay, and left outer join on your local date table on your, this is your automatic table, right? A start date and this one, okay. So now you understood with this itself, right? The automatic date table is not, it is not helpful here. We are not supposed to use that one, okay. This is a line 2, line 4, CPU, how much CPU. Look here, for this one, it took more CPU because it is taking the entire data, right? Entire data, tracing the entire data. Hence, it takes more thing. And in the case of SQL Server, if you write the same thing, the query in a SQL query, so what you do is if you are using any var class here, right? So make sure that in the var class you are using an index for var region equal to north, var region in north, south, something like that, right? So in the region column, you need to use some index. In that case, it will not consume too much of CPU. Got it? So ideally, what they suggest, right, the formula engine should be less, okay, the less millisecond, whereas the storage engine, because here only it is extracting the data. The X velocity comes into picture here, and this is the one is returning the data cache required by the formula engine. So the formula engine takes more time in order to verifying this query and all, okay. And storage engine query, storage engine cache 0, 6 queries. So here we can see 6 queries, right? It splitted this into 6 different queries, and then finally it gives us the aggregation. Okay, it's very difficult to interpret this one, but you can also export the trace details to some files. Okay, JSON file. Later point in time, if you want to compare it, you can do it. The real-time scenario, you'll be posing a lot of performance-related issues. Okay, the report data refreshes it takes 6 hours, 8 hours. So in that kind of situation, you can take your DAX queries and analyze it. Sometimes what will happen, they use the SQL Server SQL query. The SQL query, they would have created an index on, let's say in this case, let's say in the var class, you're using a region. They create an index. Suddenly what will happen, the index will get corrupted from the source system. It does the full table scan. What happens is the CPU will go like anything. Okay, the CPU utilization will be more. And then when you check it here, the same query yesterday it was working fine, today it is not, because the index which we created for the region column became unusable. It got corrupted from the SQL Server database. You can take this example, tell this to the interviewer. Okay, they will think that your case is genuine. Okay, after we inform the administrator, database administrator, SQL Server database administrator to create the index, it started working fine. This is one scenario you can tell them. The other things we will take a look at it in the next session. Okay, and I will see to that during this weekday, if I can spend any time, we'll have one more session for the performance tuning, performance analyzer, whatever the other leftover things in DAX will cover it. Okay, and time intelligence function, right? Time intelligence function is very important concept. That also will take a look at it, and performance tuning, and that is enough. Okay, and the next one is we will look at what is values function, what is distinct function, the difference between these two. These are the ones they use it, they ask it in the interview. That also we'll take a look at it, and then the next one is the SQL Server part. Okay, in the SQL Server. So most likely the upcoming weekend we'll try to wrap up everything. Okay. But SSIS and all, right, we'll see it later. That requires only one session. If you know the basics of SSIS, that is enough. See, other issues, right? The one guy, he called me and then he was screaming. So I'm using the Salesforce Microsoft Dynamics, and we are moving the entire data from source system to our data warehouse. But the problem is with the web API provided with the Dynamics, there is a limitation that it takes it picks up only the 5,000 records for each batch. Okay, so how do we do that? Web API, right? So those kind of things and all, we will discuss it. So for that, the simple thing is, if you want to do one-time load, you need to create multiple report files. Right? Each report file, for example, you have simple example. For example, you have 1,000 records are there, right? If you are web API, at a time you can return only 5,000 records. What you do is you can create one report file, two report files, report file 1, report file 2. So here you can pick up only 5,000, and report 2, you pick up the remaining 5,000 records. For that, you need to write some logic. So in that case, parallelly, you can schedule the job. Okay, the first job will pick up 5,000, second job will pick up 5,000. This way you can overcome this kind of limitation. But also parallelly, you are extracting the data and loading it into the target. Okay, so these are the ETL strategy that you use it. One-time load, we have used this kind of logic, something like that you can tell. But in real time, we don't use 1,000 records. It will be more than that. Even in that case, you need to create multiple report files. In each report file, you can specify some logic so that you can extract the data in parallel with the different reports, especially when you schedule it. Okay, for example, 10 a.m. you specify all these report files. 10 a.m. all the 5 report files should get triggered. And all these 5 report files will pull the data from your source system, and then it will try to load into target, single target. Okay, any questions? So the DAX Studio you can install. This is very much helpful from the performance tuning point of view, and also it is very developer friendly. Okay, you can you don't have to break your head whether do I have to use measure or table. You can test it, everything works well, and then you can go and use it in your Power BI desktop. Okay, any questions? Okay, we'll upload this video also. Okay, and we will circle back either this upcoming Wednesday or Thursday, but obviously upcoming Saturday, Sunday we'll spend time in wrapping up everything. This is very important thing because the upcoming session are very important. Okay, but this one session is enough to complete that the DAX part, the performance tuning and thing, and then the weekend we will take a look at the SQL Server. Okay. Okay, since you don't have any questions, I'm going to end the session. We'll upload the video right after this. Don't